What's up, guys? I always get this question on what is the best flip, what is the easiest one to learn, what should I do right off the bat? That is a tough question because some flips are easier than other ones. So today I'm gonna actually show you what I think is the best flip to actually start out with. If you don't know me, my name is Corbin Reinhardt. I am a parkour athlete and I am on Team Tempest out here in Los Angeles. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. All right, so in order to do this, the first thing we need to discuss are what are the first fundamental flips. The first one is a backflip. The second one is a front flip. And the last one is a side flip. I'm tired. So which one out of those three is actually the best flip to try first? I don't want to get into a debate, so I just want to let you guys know this is my opinion personally. Once you already know the technique, I think backflips are the easiest flips. The reason why is because once you go over your head and you spot, you can see everything, and I think that makes it a lot safer. But that's after you already learned the technique. I also think side flips are one of the safest flips. Once you get up in the air, you can see where you're gonna land. And then after you go through the flip, you look underneath your armpit and you can see where you're gonna land again. You have the best spotting out of all the flips. But that does take a good amount of technique to learn. So that brings us down to the front flip. The front flip is a great move. The only thing is you are a little blind at the end. I've talked to many different people about this. A lot of people look through their armpit, a lot of people look through their legs, but the main thing is you have your back facing the ground. So you can't see until almost the end. But I think it's the best flip to learn first. The reason why is because if I'm a beginner, I can do this. I can land on my butt, I can land on my back, and those are a lot better areas of the body to land on than your head, like in a back flip, or on your shoulder, like you would on a side flip. So that's why I'm choosing this flip to be the first you should learn. So the first thing that you should do is find a mat, or in my case, back in the day, I found an old mattress that I would learn flips on. You're gonna put that sucker on the ground. So the first thing that you should absolutely do is learn how to roll. This is the first step. The major elements of the roll is you want to use your hands on the floor to protect your head. Protect your head at all costs. Next, you're gonna actually use your hips to generate some rotation, and that's how you're gonna get around for the flip. And lastly, I see a lot of people hit their knee to their nose because they don't stay stiff with their legs. So make sure in that last part of the flip, you're not staying loose so one body part hits another. When you get comfortable with that first roll, you're gonna wanna take it to step 2, which will be a dive roll. A dive roll is gonna be very similar to that regular roll, but the main thing with this one is you're actually jumping into it. That is a big stepping stone for when you're actually trying a front flip. With this movement, you actually need to get your hips up before your hands touch, and that's really crucial. So make sure you get your hips up on top of your head, and also you're using your hands to protect your head. And after that, you're tucking into a ball to get the rotation around. I'm gonna give you guys a key tip on something. One major flaw I see from people's rolls and their front flips is that when they tuck like this. When you tuck like this, the thing that's going to hit your nose first is going to be your knees. So what you want to do is actually spread them a little bit apart. You guys can see how this little gap right here, if I try to tuck as deep as possible, I'm still not going to hit my knees to my nose. That is a major rule of thumb because I've seen people break their orbital bones, break their noses. You land on your feet, bam! Also guys, I know this is a brief analysis. Maybe later on I'll actually do a full tutorial on this. But I just want to show you guys what the safest way is to learn to flip first. Now we're going into the actual front flip. You've learned your rolls, you've learned your dive rolls, and now we're taking it to the real thing. So now when you're doing this, you are actually gonna put a little bit more force into it to be able to get that rotation around. Now I will say, whatever ground you land on, it's probably not gonna feel good when you land on your butt or you land on your back, but it's a lot safer than landing on your head like a back flip. There are a couple different ways of going into a front flip. Here is the first one. Many people like to do this. That is called a punch, and athletes use that in gymnastics all the time. The steps that I like more is called a gather step. A gather step is when you actually separate those feet so that they're not punching into the ground. Personally, when I do parkour, I do not like to punch onto the ground because if I'm doing it on concrete, all that force goes straight to my bones and it doesn't feel good. However, if you're on a spring floor or any soft floor, you can actually do punches and it's not too bad. This next step is what you do with your arms. Personally, I like to do a throw or what I call a hammer fist. The The reason why I call this a hammer fist is because you look like you have two hammers in your fists and you're throwing them right in front of you. This really benefits the rotation of the flip. Remember, it starts with your feet blocking and actually pushing you upward, and then you use those hammer fists to actually help you rotate. Now, the last part is the key to be able to rotate in a front flip. And that last part is literally sticking your tushy out. These hips, which do not lie, are going to help you get around tremendously. Many people just go with the hammer fist and then they use their feet and they wonder why they're landing on their back. The momentum in this flip really does come from your hips driving upward. Here's a slow-mo so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so here is where fear is going to come into play, because now you need to take that step from that dive roll to an actual flip. And how you're gonna do that? Well, for me, it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of landing on my butt. Yeah, that's gonna happen. So here's what the first front flips look like for me. And then it turned into something like this. So as you can see, the more I got comfortable with it, the more I actually got around to my feet. Now, when you get around to your feet, you're actually absorbing the flip a little bit more, and that's when you really start feeling like you can do a front flip. So you need to get over that barrier of going from your back and being really scared of it to actually trying to rise up and get around to your feet. Now I'm gonna show you, and I'm only gonna do it one time, the scariest thing about landing onto your feet. Oh, yeah, that sucked. That sucked majorly. That's what's called whiplash. You need to remember to keep your neck a little bit stiffer so that when you land, it's not loose enough to be doing this. With that, your neck will be sore the next morning, and it's not a fun time. Another thing I see beginners do that I call pulling the carpet from your feet is this. Guess what? That is a front flip, but the technique is way off. I'm using my feet to completely stop my momentum instead of actually trying to push upward. The main thing with this is that you gotta remember, your feet are not just trying to be pulled out from a rug, you're actually trying to gain momentum upward. Once you put it all together and you actually start landing on your feet a couple of times, then it's gonna start looking like this. Remember, the three things that you're majorly looking for are the first, blocking with your feet to be able to go upward, second, hammer fists, and third, hip drive. There's a lot more things that go along with it, but those are the three major things to be able to do a front flip. The last thing, which is also majorly important, is being able to absorb the landing. When I land on my feet, I'm not completely stiff. If I were stiff, I'd probably break something. So remember when you land that you need to absorb with your knees and really squat down. Now, once you get that a couple of times, you could actually change up the technique and make it a lot more smooth. This is called a split step. And later on, you could try a Russian front flip. That is a type of front flip where you actually have your hands come back before you jump. It is the weirdest thing. I am still uncomfortable with it, but if you feel good enough about your technique, you could take it a step further with that. Guys, I know this was a little bit shorter of a video, but I just wanted to give you an idea. If you're trying to do a flip, I personally think that the front flip is the safest way to try the first flip you're ever gonna do. So I hope you guys find your mat or your old dumpster mattress like I did when I was a kid. If you guys have any clips of you trying this and getting better at it, please post it to my Reddit page in the description below, because I really do wanna see it. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe so I know to make more of these. Also, comment down if you're ever gonna try this flip. And if you want to be part of the secret Hardt Club, click this join now button up here. I haven't said this all that much, but I am making energy cookies. So if you want some of those, click right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Later, skaters.